everybody. How's everybody doing? This is GMrDrew, here to welcome you to another episode of the Glowczewski Experience, episode 46, and my X part 4. I think we're done with the X's. I was looking at it. I scanned it in. I looked at it online. I was like, okay, I could work with this. I can use this. So even though it's titled Axe, I was gonna call it like Throw Them Bows or something like that, just because I'm gonna be working on some bows as promised. But yeah. There we go. Sorry, I keep moving the screen around, trying to get the camera in the right place. But yeah, so we're gonna work on the bows and arrows. Well, I don't know about arrows. I guess obviously arrows come with it, so I might draw an arrow or two. But I think we all know what arrows look like, especially with the era or the type of technology that I'm going with here. You know, obviously, just think of a. Well, I'll probably have to do some quivers or something, right? So that'll be interesting. Have some quivers to go along with those handles that I have. Because, yeah, everything so far has been dressed in like metal and wood just because these are harder things. But I think it's going to be interesting when I get into the decorative aspects of it. I mean, so far all I have are like these little dangly things, little beads on strings and whatnots. Alright, let me lower this a little bit more since this is a since we're going to be working with the bottom of the page. Okay, yeah, so I'll do some bows and some quivers, and that should cover up the whole bottom half of this. All right. All right. So yeah, I'm super bummed out, man. I went to go upload one of my streams from the other night of not this concept art or prop art, but of uh, of my Heaven is the New Hello picture. And I guess what ended up happening on that stream was I had put some uh, HBO show, what's it called, Raised by Wolves on. All right, we got the camera at a good angle. Okay. I wonder if I could focus on some better top-down lighting rather than this directional light. There we go. Hopefully the shadow's a little less harsh. I've been a little cognizant of that, which isn't good. But yeah, the other night I was streaming, and I was just like, yeah, I'll I'll put on Raised by Wolves just because, if if I don't if I don't have like viewers and people in the chat to bounce conversation off of, I kind of, my mind just starts going into like focusing on the art and um, less so on the conversation. So I just decided, I was just like, I even remember I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna put this shit on, let it play in the background, whatever, whatever. But I guess I had it on like a little bit too loud, and I was running commentary. I kind of liked it. I was like kind of commenting on the story, and because I wasn't showing it, like I didn't show anything, like I didn't like tilt the camera towards my television to show off like, oh, this is the TV show and this is what it looks like, but it was just audio. But I guess the audio alone is enough, which is crazy to me to get a DMC'd. And hey, man, I'm not gonna hold it against them. I'm not like mad or upset. I'm being like, how dare Warner Brothers like claim their own shit? But it was like, oh man, I was kind of like running commentary on it. And I see like channels doing that all the time. Where, they'll put up the TV show and it's like, oh, it's the watch along, and they'll put a screen up of them watching the shit. And then they do it as like reaction videos or commentary videos or anything like that. And it's just like, okay, like other people are doing it, so it must not be a thing. As long like I'm not showing the show, I'm just commentating on it, and people can hear it. Um, but yeah, apparently that's too much. Oh no, I didn't know that. So I'm still just learning things as I go along. But yeah, I was a little bummed out by that. Yesterday, I ended up getting busy, and then by the time I was ready to stream at night, it was already like a quarter to 10. And I was just like, all right, well, if I start streaming, that means I'm not going to bed until 11:30 midnight. So I just decided against the stream last night, so I didn't get to the Heaven is the New Hello. Because if I have to, I run out of energy, man. So if I'm running out of energy, but I need to be able to uh, maintain like a train of thought, because I don't know how cool it would be for me to stay silent. Like that's probably mad lame. I need to fill up the airtime with some sound, keep people as engaged as possible. It'd be 10 times easier if if you follow my streams and get alerted to when I go live, and if you're available, then you could join me, and you guys know, man, ask me a question, I could ramble on that for like a half hour to hour and to just go on and on. But if I don't know what to ramble on about, if I don't know what people want to hear from me, it's difficult. So yeah, it seems like I can't even play the audio of TV shows, even though, which I guess makes sense when I say it out loud. even if I'm running commentary on it. Looks like it's something that I cannot do. So when I uploaded that video onto YouTube, I had to cut out like 45 minutes out of that video, and that video is only like, not even 90 minutes long. So I cut out more than half that video. So I was a little bummed out about it, but I understand. Hey man, this is the Glowczewski experience, so hey man, I guess I'll just have to learn to get better at just talking to myself until people can throw out questions and stuff, man. Next time I have someone in here, maybe I'll just ask them to like, hey man, throw some stuff at me because I don't know what to talk about. You know what I mean? But I'll gladly talk about anything. It's just hard to think about anything. Um, I come up with things during the day, and I should probably start writing them down. I come up with some ideas during the day. To thoughts, because I'm watching a bunch of shit and listening to a bunch of shit on YouTube and a bunch of channels, and obviously I watch them because I'm interested in them, and because I'm interested in them, because of the subject matter that they're covering, uh, or the entertainment that they provide. But there's always ideas and being introduced in all the things that I watch. I like to think about stuff, and so I'll come up with thoughts and ideas, and then it's like, oh man, I guess stuff that people would maybe normally put into a comment, like in the comment thread. I usually just keep these thoughts to myself, and lately I've been like, oh no, that'd be a dope thing to talk about. Like while I do these things, and I need stuff to talk about, so why not talk about the stuff that interests me and the thoughts that I have and things like that. Even while nobody's asking for it, I'll gladly talk about the things that people want me to talk about. But while there's no one asking me to do anything, yeah, I could just ramble. I could just ramble about shit. So, in lieu of that, with that said, there we go. And where's my middle line? It's like somewhere around here. I want to talk about something that I think was always a pretty cool idea that I had. Um, and because I don't have the means to make like these super fancy videos, I just figured once I started making videos, I'll talk about this stuff. But man, that's looking like a pipe dream. And if you know me, man, I ain't trying to pipe dream anything. So I'm not going to like half step on anything. So I was watching this video, uh, Joy Boy Theories, and he talked about something super interesting. You know, he's a YouTuber that talks about One Piece stuff a whole lot. And I actually need to step away for a second. Forgive me. Where's my BRB thing? I have a little emergency I need to go take care of. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Most riveting stream on the interwebs. All right. Super sorry about that. Had to go take care of something. Um, so yeah, I was talking about Joy Boy and how he makes, he's a YouTuber, and I think his big thing is making like theory videos and things like that. Like I know he breaks down chapters. He's one of the people that I watch to break down One Piece chapters. Some people just have way more insight than you. Once upon a time, I was thinking like maybe I should go through One Piece bit by bit, and then you start watching Tekking and Ohara and Flying Panda and Joy Boy, and then you're just like, you know what? Like I will never catch up to those dudes as far as like their knowledge and what they're capable of just pulling up and referencing. They make it a bit daunting. Uh, so yeah, I know to put that one in check. I'll keep that one tucked in my back pocket, until I can put together a proper video regarding that stuff. Um, but yeah, he put out a video recently. It was pretty interesting. It was about this theory on the devil fruits, their powers and awakenings, and the reason why all these different land types exist. Um, I think he had opened it up with uh, the Corazon's calm fruit, which he was just like reminding me of that just because I was like, oh shit, that's right. He had a fruit called the calm fruit. Like, like so random. Uh, Such a random power to have. But anyway, you know, he started with that, and then he started talking about the calm belts and how maybe an awakened calm fruit user could have created the calm belts. And something that I'm sure if you're into One Piece and you watch these videos like a nerd like I do, you probably are aware of everyone's theories because I've heard it a few times over the years now about how like ever since awakenings happened, uh, that it introduced the concept of all these all these funky islands like Raiju Island or Raijin Island, whatever it's called. It's all lightning all day, every day. It never stops lightning. And then there's the lightning devil fruit. So maybe an awakened lightning devil fruit user permanently change the island. What really started pushing these ideas forward was like how Aokiji and I don't know the two admirals, who the ice dude and the magma dude, they uh they battled it out, and they permanently turned an island that they battled it out on into they permanently turned that island into their powers. So it's like half ice, half magma, things like that. Punk Hazard, I believe it was, or maybe it was a different island. Either way, there's it really introduced the concept of these devil fruits can alter time, or alter all these places permanently. And what I like about Joe Boy's videos is that he'll take that idea and then he'll like really run with it. And then he started talking about things so obscure we don't, you wouldn't think about it off rip. I certainly never have. Of like the more obscure fruits, like the slow fruit, that obviously like slows things down. And then there's an island that seems like it's like trapped in time. And it's like, oh, an awakened slow fruit user could have affected that island, and now just time on that island goes slower. You know what I mean? And now take that concept and apply it to all the devil fruits. And if you're unaware of the show, let's just say there's a million devil fruits. Like, there's just so many. There's all of them. If you could think of any and every power that's ever existed, there's more. There's more devil fruits than those. There's just a ton of them. So, he's talking about all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I've had a certain idea for years now. And I was like, is he about to drop the bomb of what I've always thought? Is he about to introduce the idea that I've always had? And I don't know Joy Boy, so don't think like, oh, I told him, and now no. Like, ideas. People can have the same idea without ever having talked, and plus I've been sitting around on it forever. And I'm an idiot, so if I can have this idea, certainly it's not crazy that these guys who are much smarter on the subject matter than I am, that they'd be able to draw this conclusion themselves as well. Where a long time ago, and I don't know how long ago it was, I'm guessing it was around the time that that awakened devil fruit powers were like, ever since that idea was introduced, that as a concept, like, hey, this is a thing now, where, and I believe it, I don't know, maybe it was Doflamingo who brought it up. So this would have been back on damn, it's not Totland arc. What's that arc called? It's not the Zoe arc. God damn, I'm so dumb when it comes to this. This is what I mean by I'm an idiot. Dressrosa. There we go. On the Dressrosa arc, we're introduced to this bad guy, Doflamingo, And Doflamingo talks about, he introduces the concept to Luffy, which, obviously introduces the concept to us. And it was probably since then, because I've had this idea for a long time. But I feel like I've had this idea longer, but I was just trying to think of why I would have had this idea if the concept of devil fruits not um, if the concept of devil fruits altering the world around it and not just the devil fruit user themselves. If that hadn't been introduced, why would I have had this thought? But either way, I always since One Piece started back in the '90s, it seems like it's always island, 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 island. And in my head, I'm like, yo, why? It's all islands. I was like, from a storytelling perspective, it's kind of cool because now you have these pirates. They jump on a boat and then they sail across the sea and then they land on an island. And then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, new adventure, rinse and repeat, new adventure, rinse and repeat, meet characters, rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I could get why you would want to do it that way because it makes it interesting. But then when you start like to double down or extrapolate everything, uh, let me see. Where does this go? Oh, it goes here. There we go. What was I talking about? Oh, so it's island to island to island to island. Millions of islands. And it's like, okay, I get it. All these islands. Cool. But it's like, there's no continents. Like, there's no continents. Like, there's nothing that is like not an island. And it's like, well, no, there's the red line. And that the red line and I guess the grand line. I feel like the grand line is the water, while the red line is definitely a landmass. And the fact that the red line is like some sort of alien landmass. Like, forget about that for a second, but that would probably be the only thing that you could consider a continent in in that world. Everything else is an island, and there's a ton of islands. I mean, the show's been going on forever. And not only do the characters visit all these islands, but they name a bunch of islands that we just never been to. Following the protagonists and the main characters and all that. We just never been to those islands, but we learn about them. So it's like, okay, these things exist. And a long time ago, I'd be thinking to myself, like, why, um, and you know, the concept of an awakened devil fruit altering land and all that stuff. All the shit that Joy Boy was talking about in the video. And all these concepts. And when I was sitting there nervous as hell, I was like, Joy Boy's about to drop the bomb. This bomb that I've been sitting on and not talking about for years. So, but he didn't. He never dropped the bomb. So I was like, oh my god, he was right there and he didn't take it there. So I said, you know what, that'll be the thing that I talk about at least this episode. You know, obviously I've been rambling on about it for half hour now. And this is what I mean about being able to fill up space, man. You ask me a question, I'll answer it thoroughly. Um, but I always thought, you know, shows usually end where they begin, in a sense of like, you know, you, it's always nice to remind the viewers or the readers or anything like that, anyone who's enjoying your thing, of where the main character came from, and to kind of share all their journeys and stories. That way, when you know the story ends, uh, you know you're reminded of the journey that you just went on, especially if it's a long journey like One Piece is. It's I mean it's the longest journey. So I've always felt like One Piece would do that, and who was there in the beginning, and who do we never pay any mind to? Who's like a joke character that we just, you know, we don't even consider as anyone important just because they're this joke character. And then as the story goes on, you start to realize this joke character is actually kind of important. He seems pretty integral to everything. And I mean, I'll just say it. I feel like once I say the name, people are going to know where I'm going with this, but that's fine. So, there's a character in there, Buggy. Buggy the Clown. He was there in the beginning. If you watch the show and then you gave up on the show, you still know who Buggy is because he was there in the beginning. He was like one of the first bad guys that Luffy ever faced off against. And then he got handled and we moved on and more stuff happened and we moved on. Kind of forget about Buggy, right? Like who cares? He's a clown. Like not only is he a clown, but he's a clown. So why why do we care about Buggy at all? Kind of don't, right? Which is fine. And then we get the 3D 2Y and the great the war arc. And you know, we're following Luffy on this like solo adventure without the rest of the crew. And I always thought that was a weird arc, especially when I first watched it. And I feel like I need to go back and rewatch it in order to truly appreciate it because I didn't appreciate it because we weren't getting the rest of the crew. Zoro being my main, you know, my main One Piece character that I love is like, well, not having Zoro kind of makes me feel like, why am I even watching this? You know what I'm saying? So I need to go back and rewatch that now that I know what it was doing and all that other stuff, how relevant it was. Because to me, I was just like, who gives a fuck about all these other characters, man? Like, fuck these characters. Like, straight up, man. I hate to be that guy, like, sound all like mean about it, but I didn't care for that arc at all. And now I wish I had because now there's like relevance to it and stuff. But so we go to this arc, and then what happens? Who do we run into? Of all people, fucking Buggy. Of all the characters, I mean, we're running into so many characters, and none of them are the Straw Hat Crew. And I'm just like, I'm kind of just tuning out. Even though I'm watching it, I'm kind of tuning out. Then we run into Buggy, and that really doesn't do much for me because I'm like, he's a clown. He got his ass handed to him. Like, no one cares. You know, adding Buggy to the story isn't gonna like get me any more or less invested than I am already. And then what happens? You know, we meet all these other characters, and Buggy's in there, and whatever, whatever, whatever. There's warlords, and you know, we're introduced to like the warlords concept, and maybe even like the Yonko concept. But the Yonko were so far off, and they were so powerful, and this and that. It was like, yeah, the Yonko, that's never happening. Or you know, we were just so far off from that because I think it was like CP0 were like the big bads at the time, which is just long before. Like right now, we're in Wano with the Kaido arc. Oh my god! Yeah, I should have drew these things in. There we go. Get this, get this thing on the right track. Yeah. You know, digitally, I'm sure this thing would have been easier. I could just draw half of it and then copy and paste. That way I keep like a good even arch, but whatever. I could still fix this up digitally after the fact. Make sure proportions are right and all that stuff and aligned a little bit better. Either way. So Buggy gets introduced, and now all of a sudden the concept of like, oh no, characters are starting to repeat. There is actually like a lore and a history, and now you know we're going to be exploring more of Luffy's story through the characters that he interacts with. Meaning, like, characters aren't just going to start disappearing one by one. Or, bad guys aren't going to just start disappearing once they're taken care of once the Luffy defeats them and stuff. Like, some of them, and now ever since then, kind of like most of them are going. They're here to stay. They're a part of this thing now. They're 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 doing what we're doing here. So dope, right? Well, Buggy's still Buggy, so it's like whatever. But because they reintroduce him to the story, and then he becomes a warlord, and all this stuff that happens with him, that it's like, man, why are we talking about this character who, like, really doesn't matter? And then they introduce the concept of awakened devil fruits and all this stuff, and then it's like, okay, and now, to the point where YouTubers like Joy Boy are crafting theories about stuff, and you know everyone has their ideas on things. Well, I had this idea of, like, trying to make uh, just trying to understand the concept of, like, why should we care about, especially a character like Buggy. And then, you learn more about him, and you're like, nah, he was a part of Roger's crew. He knows Shanks, who's one of the more powerful, more important characters in the story, who's like the total opposite of Buggy. And then you find out, like, not only were they crewmates, but they came up together. Like, they're super close, and it's like, how is the dopest character and the lamest character? Like, how do they even know each other like that? But anyway, uh, here we go. So I came up with this idea a long time ago about how the reason why everything is an island in that show, and the reason how or why that came to be is because of Buggy's fruit, the chop chop fruit, I believe is what it's called. It's all broken. It gives him the power to break his body apart and separate himself, and, to piece himself back together, and yada yada yada. And, there's this whole concept in One Piece of, like, freedom, and, breaking out of oppression, and, now that we know that the red line or grand line, whatever, is all kind of kind of basically everything that I've been talking about, between the islands all being separated, islands having the powers, awakened devil fruits, altering the world completely, um, all this all this stuff. All of that just to say, like, I believe all the islands came from the chop chop fruit user awakening and separating all the like continent land masses, so that way they became islands. I mean, I think that would be the awakened form of that devil fruit. If you can separate your body and piece it back together. Um, and awakened fruits are like, you, and it's not limited to this, because I guess it all depends on the fruit user, but the awakened fruit is like you get to manipulate the world, not just yourself. Then it only makes sense to me that the chop chop fruit, for users who can break themselves apart, once they're awakened, they get to break the earth apart. Well, what happens when you break land masses and continents up? You get you get you get islands. You get all the islands that we've been seeing since, the inception or introduction of this story. And I just kind of wanted to get that idea out there because I always thought, like, how funny would it be, this character who's a clown, who's like always weak, and we gets tossed aside, and we feel like he doesn't matter, yet he does matter because he always ends up being relevant in some way. And it's just like, okay, this character's got to do something. Like, if we he has to be like paraded in front of us, and we have to be reminded that he exists. Like, there's got to be a reason for it. And I don't know, like, how this ends, of course. I imagine it ends with some sort of liberation, and, you know, and some sort of freedom, and breaking bonds and chains. And if this red line is something that needs to go in order for that all that stuff to happen, well, then it's probably going to go. And once that red line goes, what does that mean? It means that all the islands and places are like free, and the ocean isn't split into four anymore, but it's one ocean. And there's this theory of the all blue, and the all blue could just be some old reference to, like, the way things were before, one, the red line was being constructed, and two, all the islands broke apart. Now, I don't know if the two are related. I don't know if an awakened chop chop fruit user and the red line have anything to do with each other. They could have been separate instances. Oh yeah, that's not bad. So we got like this standard broke bitch bow, and then we got like a fish type bow. Then we have like this bird bow. This is something that I wanted to do more with, like, the stuff in here, is like introduce more fish stuff, because I mean, this is fish culture. I was definitely gonna do that with the clothing and stuff like that. And when I was drawing these things, and I was just thinking like cold animal elements. I was thinking like birds and stags and the ice dragon and all that other stuff. And then it hit me about halfway through working on the joints up here. I was like, oh yeah, I don't really have any fish references. And I was thinking about altering these. And I said, I'll just keep them birds. Like I'll just throw some fish stuff in there later. Plus, fish will play a heavier role in other things uh, for some of these cultures. So I was just, especially diet and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I'll just save the fish for later. So while I was working with this bow, I said, let me get the fish thing in there. But yeah, getting more of the eagle thing, just like they have the eagle crested hatchets and pommels and all that other shit. They'll have like eagle themed bows and shit like that. Which I don't know. I think is kind of dope. Uh, so yeah, that's uh that's what I'd be thinking about, man. I'd be thinking about how Buggy must be. He's got to be important. Like he's got to play a role in something. Like he's not like even most recently, they brought him back just to show like, oh, we're breaking up the warlord system and Buggy's a warlord, which is a big deal, even though he's a clown and not really all that powerful. But like that's his whole shtick is that he's not powerful, but he's toted as super powerful. He's like this kind of like a troll character. And I was just thinking how big of a deal it would be if all of a sudden Buggy's character becomes one of the most important characters in the show, uh, strictly based on because of his devil power, and then they have to like depend on him, and it's like, yo, Buggy, it's up to you. You gotta do this, and then he does it, and then he becomes like super popular, and he's like, I don't do it unless I become popular, or you know what I mean, or maybe it's like some last act of his, or like who knows. But it's like, okay, now Buggy becomes like Buggy the God or something. Just by happenstance. And it's like, oh my God, fucking Buggy. He ended up becoming that important. Jesus. Like, I mean, it would seem like on par with it. But yeah, I've had this idea for years, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody else mimic it. And Joy Boy's video that I watched yesterday was definitely the closest I've heard to somebody coming up with a theory like mine. And I imagine people don't have a theory like mine because I'm probably missing some information, you know, where it's like, nah, nah, chop chop fruit awaken will definitely not like open up or create islands out of continents. I can see why you may think that, but no. Like I'm sure that's I'm probably missing something. If unless that's just like the best concept I've come from watching this show that I've gained watching that show. But either way, it's I wanted to make sure I got that out before somebody else did. so I can have my my Ray J moment. All right, let's move on. How these bows looking kind of cool. I think I'll do one more. I think I'm kind of getting the idea across, and they're kind of going up in grades, and you know, I don't know if bows need to be all the same size or what, but or similar angles like these. They appear to be getting bigger. Like this is like the skinniest, this is medium, this is large. I know that there's different bow types, like there's short bows, long bows, and things like that. And like long bows are super huge, and then you know, because I watched the Joe Rogan Experience a bunch. You know, I I hear the man talking about like the pull strength because he does archery himself, of course. The man does everything. Um, and he talks about like bow, like the draw, the draw weight. I don't know. I guess like the way that certain bows are set up is, you know, in order to project the arrows further, faster, things like that. Bows have to have a certain amount of power in order to force those things, and then that power gets generated by the drawing it the string back. And you know, I don't know what the weights are, but let's say that there's like, oh, there's you know, there's a 20-pound bow and a 40-pound bow and a 60 and a 80, and I don't know if that means like the bow weighs that much. Obviously, I'm sure they all weigh similar, but as far as like the pulling the string back and then the strength in this bow itself, having to pull it back further and further and further. Um, I'm guessing that's what they're talking about when they're talking about weight and things like that. So if that's the case, then yeah, maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know. I don't know too much about bows, or I don't know enough about them to know what's a super bow and what's not a super bow. These are just bows, and and some of them will serve this purpose and that purpose, and they'll be whatever they have to be in order to be those. Um, you know, I mean, if I have to squash them out or make squish them in order so that they're all this thin or that they're all this fat, you know, I don't know if any of that ever changes. You know, I don't know anything about the anatomy of bows. I should probably look those sort of things up. You know. So yeah, I hope that was remotely interesting. My little my little theories. I don't get too many of them too often. Like I said, I've been sitting on that one for a long time. Maybe I just need to craft my theories and get them out there, get the ideas out there in order to get them out of my head. And then that way I can move on and have more of them. But nah, man, I enjoy watching those other guys come up with their theories. Like I said, we all get our influence from somewhere, and you never know where it's gonna come from. But yeah, while I was exercising yesterday, I was watching that Joy Boy video, and I was sweating bullets. I said, "Oh no, he's talking about all the devil fruits and how they all woken and how they all going. And he's going deep, even talking about slow fruit, slowing down the the time for an island to grow and evolve, and it's stuck in the past and da 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 da." And so yeah, he was talking about all that, and I was just like, okay, I need to before I get mad or upset that somebody else has the same exact basic idea as I do. And then here I am crying wolf after, not doing anything to. There we go. Yeah, get a little different angle in there. I was just thinking about how this bow is too arched. Maybe that's why they all need to kind of remain in you know a smaller a smaller arch unless you like bring them in. You know that way you can like snap them back some more. compound bows are a thing, but I don't know how a compound bow is different technology from your standard everyday bow. There we go. Yeah, so all my bows are probably way too angled, too round. I'm starting to feel a way about my bows now. I wish I had see, this is where working digitally comes in handy. I could just squeeze them and then adjust them. But none of that here. I'll just have to live with my mistakes. Man, I guess these are in pencil. I can erase and readjust. It's that way. Yeah, see. I have to look something like that. Same thing with this one. See, the problem with the bend on these that I did initially is like if you pull this string back, this bow is already like bent as shit. I guess the whole point of it is that it's supposed to kind of be flat so that when you pull it back, you have like a long way that you could pull in order to get that snap. You know what I mean? Almost like that bow needs to be screaming to like kind of like fold flat instead of being bowed out like that. Um, so yeah. So yeah, maybe these bows need to just be adjusted this way. See, this is what happens. This is why I like to just draw and not have to think too much about things to say. Because then I start putting my mental energy towards like the talking. That's why you can't let me come up with my own things to talk about, guys. You gotta be a part of the stream and ask questions. That way I can kind of walk through them. Yeah, so maybe I'll just let these ride like this and kind of show these adjustments. And basically all I'm doing is making them as thin as this initial bow, because I think this first bow kind of represents what a bow is a little bit more. And I know I've seen some funky bows like this before. I think like maybe the Mongols use it or something. But either way. How does it look on the screen? See, I feel like this is... Where's the halfway point? I mean, the halfway point's gotta be about there. So why does it look so off? Oh, is that why? That's why because you're just popping too much. There we go. There we go. See, now that I'm warmed up, man, now I'm getting all these ideas of like, oh, I could do it like this, I could do it like that. Like now I could do a bow like this, and like I could just draw bows all day long, I feel like, and then uh, just learn and know how to do them better. I mean, I love it when I fix stuff like this because it wasn't sitting well with me, and I'd commented on it, and then I kind of, let it be. But it still wasn't sitting well with me. And it's like, all right, you need to fix this. So I'm just gonna kind of copy and paste what I already drew down there over to these. I mean, these things don't need to be perfect, right? Or do they? They have to be perfect all day, every day. What time is it? 7:30. Ooh, I'm gonna throw on a pot of coffee. All you guys, please enjoy just look at this and realize, you know what, we don't always get things right on the first try. You know what I mean? I couldn't even tell you the last time I drew a bow and arrow. Probably never, especially at this capacity. So, first time artist, first time loser. And yeah, I'm gonna go put on a pot of coffee, and while that brews, I'll jump back on here, and then I'll correct these things. Alright. Got the coffee brewing. Yeah, this is gonna start putting a big gap in between these now, though. Oh well. Hey, it is what it is, man. You can't completely erase your problems. There's always some scarring. As long as there's something beautiful out of that scarring, right? Man, I was really rendering these things. I was really putting them together like that, man. Oh well. Don't want to put something together that's wrong, right? Gotta do it right, gotta do it live. And same thing here. Alright, where you at? There we at. Okay. Alright. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. But yeah, these are looking a little bit more correct, right? They're starting to look like, okay, they belong. Now I wonder if there's a way for me to... Try to patch this up as much as I can, right? I mean, we're all gonna see the scarring, but as long as this helps me render them out in the end, hey, I'll welcome it. At least get this paint marker to kind of fill in. You know, I'm starting to learn by using these red and blue pencils, just like kind of the benefit of them. I'm learning the not so beneficial stuff about it. Look at that, it's erasing it a little bit better. Um, you know, like I almost stopped using them just because they're so rough, and I was just like, you know what? Stop using them so rough. Stop using them so rough, and then they won't be rough no more. So I try to do that, but I get carried away, especially when I'm doing like the sketching out and thinking process. Um, but that's a me thing. I need to just regulate myself a little bit better. Okay. So yeah, I'm sure once that dries and all that stuff, like we'll be a little bit better off. You know what I realized I didn't do with these is I didn't use any brush or any black ink, and I was like, oh, no wonder they're looking so not tight. Kind of like so while I wait for all that bow stuff to dry. Yeah, I was kind of sitting back and I was like, why do these look so rough and not tight? And then it hit me like, oh, you didn't use any black ink on these. Like, you're not done yet, sir. So I said, oh, let me go do that. Just to tighten up some areas. I don't think everything needs it, but there's certainly some areas that can use it more than others. Man, is this music getting too loud? I feel like it keeps getting louder. Whoops. Whoopsie. Accidentally just brushed my own microphone foam head. Getting a little carried away there, Drew. Yeah, it's amazing what a little bit of black ink can do, really. See, it just livens it up a little bit. And this is with the thick brush for right now. I'm probably overusing it. I'm gonna go in with the thin brush in a second and really get these details out. See, look how much this stuff changes. Oh my god. There we go. Well, it sounds like my coffee is ready. So let me finish with this pen. And then before I jump onto the small pen to get that, to get like other little details in here, I'll I'll grab some coffee, do the small details, and then I'll jump back on the bows. I want this white paint marker to dry before I just go willy-nilly jump back onto it and then damage the paper more than I already have. That recovery though. I want to do that. Come on, I'm getting off camera here. Sorry about that. Okay, man. Let's see. Sorry, I'm bumping the camera. See what a difference a little bit of black ink makes. And this is like still the obtuse black ink. This isn't even getting the definition in there yet. There we go. Yeah, these particular metals were meant to be darker anyway, so I don't mind throwing some like thick globs of black ink on these. These are supposed to be a bit finer, so I'm not going to do it to those, except for where I feel like I can. And these almost nowhere. Just on basic. Oh yeah, man, they just bring out the definition with so much more, man. I can't believe I forgot to do this. I think it struck me yesterday to do it. But it's just like the character art that I do. It's like, it's all mad loosey goosey, and then I hit it with the black inks, and now all of a sudden everything tightens up, and there's something to focus on. I hope this music's not playing that loud. YouTube's trying to, stamper out what little light I have. No, they're not. Here we go. And now these are the more crummy weapons, so to speak. All right, let me go go pour that coffee I keep talking about before I let it get cold. I wish I had somebody in the chat so I could ask them, hey man, do you want to look at the bows? Or do you want to look at these axes that I've been working on? Okay. Going on 2 hours. It's not terrible time. But yeah, this is... I guess these bows aren't so bad. You know, take a minute away from them. And now, I'm glad I fixed them how I did. And I'm glad you can see that I did fix them. You know what I mean? But yeah, let me pour that coffee. I'll be back. All right. You know, since we're coming up on 2 hours, man, let me just close this one out. You know, I don't want to keep these things going on forever, anyways, man. I got other things to do. I didn't get around to yesterday. So yeah, I'll close this one out with, you know, fixing these bows. Most importantly, getting them started. And yeah, maybe I'll draw some arrows, or maybe I'll just draw some more bows since I got ideas and I feel pretty decent. Pretty decent. Uh, since I'm finally getting them started, might as well work more on them. Take a minute to step away so I could think about all the mistakes I've made this morning, this stream. And then yeah, I'll jump back on, and you know, the the black touch up, that's nothing. It's just that there's so many items that it takes a while. But hopefully this adds to, you know, you could see how these are a lot darker than these, but they come from the same metal area. They're just refined and mastered and crafted differently. And how these are like clumpy and chunky, these are clumpy and chunky, but then these are starting to get a little bit smoother. So you can see like how these are like the low budget version of these, and how these are like the simpler versions. of these, and you can see the difference in the craftsmanship across all four of these. But they're all built the same. There's a reason for that. There's an in-world reason why, they're all built the same, but the craftsmanship is different between it all. And hopefully, once I get around to the character stuff and more environment stuff, because I haven't even tackled those igloos that I did. Damn, it's so far back now. This igloo area, I haven't even began to tackle it yet. And just to give you the 411, what's happening is the ones that live in that little igloo area are the people who utilize these more crudely put together tools, but it's not to dog them or anything like that. It's to let you know, like there's a reason for that as well. And once I get to the character designs, I think it'll become obvious and it'll be more interesting. But yeah, this was a good morning. I want to keep this at 2 hours just because I'm already running on low energy. I'm about to drink some coffee. I want to sip and enjoy this. I want to put on a podcast because I can't do all that shit while I'm streaming because they out to get me. They trying to stop me, man. They don't want me to make it. They don't want me to make it. So I'm but let's enjoy this and pick this back up. And once we revisit it, you know, this will all be a distant memory. And who knows? Maybe I'll throw another bow inside here. Just simple handles. Without the string, since it's really not all that necessary. We get the string idea. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad I fixed this. I'm glad we did this, and I'm glad that I got it captured because now y'all get to learn with me, grow with me, see my process, see that uh, maybe I come off cocky or confident sometimes, but really, I'm the same as anyone and everyone else. I'm just trying to figure this shit out, same as you, bruh. So uh, hopefully, it you've learned the same lessons I've learned of like, hey, bows need to be a certain angle because once they're already bent so far, they better be having that string pulled back or that bow or that arrow ain't gonna fly nowhere. There's mechanics to it all, and I did almost no research. All the research I did was just watching like Legolas. You know what I'm saying? And watching uh, Aloy shoot some shit. So I appreciate everybody for stopping by. I appreciate you for tuning in and watching this episode of the Andrew Glowczewski Experience, episode 46, and my axe, part 4. This is a continuation, even though we worked on some bows, but I mean, shit. Even with the 4 bows that I have, it doesn't touch the, 15 axes that I have designed here. Damn near, maybe even more than that. I have no idea. But yeah, uh, I'm Mr. Drew. I'm Mr. Drew on all socials. Check me out on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. After these videos get lost on Twitch, they're up on YouTube. Um, check out my Patreon. You want me to draw for you? You want me to do commissions of your character, and you want more behind the scenes information and look into everything that I'm working on here. You want some one-on-one time, ask me questions, bend my ear a little bit. Like, hit me up on Patreon, man. That's what I'm there for. Link is in my bio here, or go to my website, GMrDrew.art. Everything is in there. You could find everything that you need from me there. You can get in touch with me from there. So yeah, man, that's what's up, man. Love y'all.